Most filmmakers overlook the very first question that they should be asking themselves, the million-dollar question, whether the audiences will like my story or not. The first thing most of them worry about is what camera to use, how grand the production design is going to be, what lighting and other equipment is going to be used on the film. When on the contrary, the very first thing they should be worrying about is whether somebody out there is going to give a damn about my story or not. And the million-dollar answer to this question is unfortunately something very complicated. It's simple, yet not so simple. The simple answer to this question is take a look at your story, then go to the internet and search for similar stories and see if those stories clicked with the audiences. If it clicked, then you have a much better chance of making your own story click with the audiences. But if those stories were unsuccessful with the audiences, then you're better off leaving your own story and moving on to working on another one. Now comes my favorite answer, the answer that is not so simple. I spent years and years of my life making short films in the hopes of gathering an audience and enticing them to watch my next film. Was I successful? Hell no, not even by a long shot. Why? Because I failed to address 4 major key points before writing and producing my short films. Number 1, I failed to address that the audiences which I was targeting belonged to the internet. I kept on making short films which were much closer to feature films in their narrative style. Since I was tremendously inspired to become a feature film director, I was always subconsciously telling stories with the perspective of a theatrical release, whereas my films were not getting released in cinemas. They were getting released on the internet, and the internet audience is just miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles apart from a cinematic audience. Which brings me to my second point. My stories were just too long. Some of my movies which I directed were around 10 minutes, some were 15, and in some cases they were up to 20 minutes long. Nobody on the internet is going to stick around that long to watch your films until and unless. Point number 3, you have to build an audience before releasing your short film. Just like how marketers for feature film market their films in order to build an audience interest in the story. Similarly, we independent filmmakers need to use the social media in order to build an interest in our stories. There's an amazing channel on YouTube that most filmmakers must already know about. It's called Film Riot, which is hosted by the amazing Ryan Connolly. One of the short films that Ryan directed was around 30 minutes long. But when he released it online, he got over 550,000 views. Now how the hell Ryan managed to do that? Because he built a freaking audience before releasing his short film. Which brings us to my final point. How to build an audience. Now I'm somebody who's trying to build an audience myself, so clearly I cannot give you any guidelines on it whatsoever. But there's another amazing channel called Video Creators hosted by the amazing Tim Schmoyer, who will absolutely walk you through on how to go from zero to a big, bold figure. Both of their links are below. Now I hope you'll be able to look at storytelling with a new perspective and will approach your own stories much more intelligently. On a closing note, I am going to repeat myself from my previous vlogs. I am a storyteller and a filmmaker who's trying to connect with other storytellers and filmmakers from all over the world. If you're watching this vlog and if you're a filmmaker, if you're a producer, if you're a director, if you have a team, if you have the resources or you can put together the resources, and if you're genuinely interested in making short films and then moving on to doing much more bigger things together, then I'm genuinely interested in providing a story and a screenplay for you to work with. Simply get in touch with me through the comment section below, and I would love to have you subscribe to my channel where I release vlogs about storytelling every Tuesday. So, in the hopes of connecting with filmmakers and storytellers worldwide, this is Mr. Zcon in the making of a great story.